You don't ask
so
about
we
how
don't
much
have
money
that
the city of Boston has spent on illegal immigration?
We
Are you
don't
out of your
distinguish-
mind?
Hello, fellow politbrawlers. I'm Richie McGinnis, and today we have a fiery exchange between Rep. Byron Donalds of Florida and Boston City Mayor Michelle Wu on the sanctuary policies of her city and what was going on the border during Joe Biden's administration. I spent my own time at the border during Biden's administration, and we're going to dive right into this clip. It gets pretty heated. Let's check it out.
This is my third term on the Oversight Committee. We've been talking about illegal immigration and oversight the entire time. I remember we had a group of this committee that went down to the El Paso section of the border. This was back in February, March of 2021. And during that time period, we were at one of the holding centers, and there were these buses that were coming to the detention facility, and they were picking up 30 kids, 50 kids at random, walking out of the facility. And when I went over to question the bus driver that was transporting these kids, border agents told me, as a member of Congress, that you're not allowed to question the bus driver. And of course, people knowing me, I didn't take no for an answer, and I repeated the question. And I was told that this bus of children was leaving El Paso and going to San Diego. And so what was occurring under the Biden administration is that they were busing unaccompanied minors all across the United States for one reason and one reason only. And that was because they did not want the press to see the pictures of kids in cages. They did not want to see our borders being overrun. They wanted to disperse that problem all through the United States. That is the reckless history of illegal immigration under Joe Biden and the Democrat Party.
Just for the record, everything that Byron Donalds is referencing right there, including resistance from the Border Patrol for the media, I witnessed that firsthand, and we'll get into that at the end of the clip.
Mayor Johnston of Denver, you lamented earlier that there were 10 to 11 buses coming per day to your city. Did you ever talk to Joe Biden about why this was happening to your community?
Thank you, Congressman. I both reached out to Governor Abbott from Texas. He didn't respond, and I did.
Why would you reach out to Governor Abbott of Texas when it is Joe Biden, the former commander-in-chief, that opened up our borders? Why didn't you talk to him?
Well, our buses directly were being sent from Governor Abbott in Texas, so that was why we reached out to say we're happy to collaborate on a coordinated entry system. We understand no one state or no one city should bear the entire brunt of this, but let's collaborate. But I did.
So I'm glad you said that, because that brings me to my next point. Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis, when they started moving illegal aliens out of their states who were bearing the brunt of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing, and they've sent them to Denver, they sent them to Chicago, they sent them to New York, they sent them to Martha's Vineyard. The reason why they did that is because you four could hide behind the realities of illegal immigration on border towns all through our country and on cities and states who did not want to see illegal immigration, but did not have the political representation to go to the White House. And only when it showed up on your doorstep did you get upset. Mayor Johnston, coming back to you, how much did your city spend on illegal immigration? Do you have a round number?
Over the last couple of years, on all newcomers, whatever their status was, it's around $79 million since 2022.
$79 million. Mayor Johnson, Chicago. How much has the city of Chicago spent on illegal immigration?
If you're referring to the 2022 up to 2024 of the buses coming from Texas, roughly the same percentage of the state of Texas, about 1% of our overall budget.
What is that? Because I don't have the city's budget in front of me. Numbers.
It's 1%, and if you want the actual calculation, we can make sure someone.
You're the mayor. You don't have the math in front of you.
It's 1% of the overall budget over the last 4 years.
That's why you're a failing
which
mayor.
is
Mayor
the same
Adams,
number that
how
was
much did
sent
the city
from
of
us
New
from
York
the
actually
state
spend
of
on
Texas.
illegal immigration? Mayor Johnson, I already asked you. You don't have a hard number, and if you don't have a hard number, you're not running your city well. Mayor Adams, how much did the city of New York actually spend on illegal immigration?
$6.9 billion of taxpayers' dollars.
$6.9 billion.
Let me say that for you guys, just in case you didn't hear it those two times. $6.9 billion spent on illegal immigration in New York City alone.
Of taxpayer money on a problem that was fostered on the American people. Mayor Wu, in the city of Boston, how much did you spend?
We don't ask about immigration status and delivering city
You don't
services,
ask
so
about
we
how
don't
much
have
money
that
the city of Boston has spent on illegal immigration?
We
Are you
don't
out of your
distinguish
mind?
between immigration status.
Do you
as
manage
part
your
of our
budget
city
or not,
policies.
Mayor Wu?
That is how we keep
Mayor
our city
Wu,
safe.
do you manage
we
your
have
budget
the
or not?
numbers to prove it. I manage my budget. I have a AAA bond rating dating back 10 years.
So
for
to the city of Boston,
budget.
just understand that your mayor does not care how much of your resources she has spent on people who are not citizens
The city
of
of Boston
the city of
is
Boston.
sick of having
I'm
people
reclaiming my
outside
time.
Boston
Mr.
telling
Beer,
us what
Mr.
we
Beer, I have a
need.
question for you because I understand Cato's perspective when it comes to illegal immigration. I understand that the Cato Institute for a long time has had a standard of actually having open immigration into the United States. Generally speaking, I don't want to get into specifics.
We support legal immigration. We want immigration to be legal.
Let me ask you this question, because one of the great libertarians of the modern era, Milton Friedman, famously said, you can either have open borders or a welfare state, but you have to choose. Mr. Beer, what do you choose?
Milton Friedman said he wanted to allow illegal immigration to continue. I disagree with Milton Friedman's position on that. We should have legal immigration and build a wall around the welfare state, not around the country. That's in the best interest of taxpayers.
And I would argue that under the current system where you have sanctuary cities popping up, it is not possible to build that wall. So America
can.
has to
Absolutely you
choose,
can.
Mr. Beer, you're done. America has to choose between securing our nation or protecting the taxpayer. I choose secure the nation. I yield back.
That final line from Byron Donalds right there was one of the most critical points that won President Trump the election in 2024. Immigration was perhaps more important during this election cycle than ever before. And that's precisely because of the sanctuary policies that we saw these mayors carrying out in their cities, and because of the Biden administration allowing for an open flow of whoever wanted to come in at their leisure over the course of 4 years. I actually visited the Texas border on the eastern side. Byron Donalds was on the western side in El Paso, but I was on the east side in McAllen, Texas. And in a little town called La Joya, Texas, I witnessed thousands and thousands of military-aged males flowing in through, guess where, the gaps in the border wall. And I encountered them right as they took their first steps into the United States. And I asked every single one of them, why are you coming now? And they told me in plain terms that they were coming because now Joe Biden was president. This was in March of 2021, because Joe Biden was president and Trump was no longer in office, and they knew that they could come right in. Furthermore, I saw all of the hospitals. There's no such thing as a Border Patrol hospital. So these local municipalities, their hospitals, their fire departments, their EMTs, they're all dealing with this problem of thousands and thousands of people coming into their municipalities on a daily basis, and they were completely overwhelmed. And they were sounding the alarm back in March of 2021. Well, guess what? It wasn't until those people, by the tens of thousands and by the millions, arrived into these cities, these sanctuary cities, arrived on the doorsteps of the liberal voters of those cities, that they finally started complaining. So it was very, very obvious from the moment that I showed up at the border that this was a major, major problem. Not only was it clear that these people who were coming in because of the policies that Joe Biden brought about, but also that there was no vetting whatsoever for, forget about COVID. They weren't vetting them for anything. These guys would intentionally drop their IDs before they came over the border, and then they would get NGOs to put them up in these towns, and then the NGOs would then ship them into the interior of the United States. Well, guess what? When they finally showed up in those cities, the voters realized, wait, I don't think that this immigration policy is working. So everything that you just saw with this exchange between Byron Donalds and the mayors of these sanctuary cities tells you everything you need to know about how detached Democrats are from reality. They're still trying to act like people don't realize what a major issue this is. Now that border crossings are down over 90%, it looks like they're starting to get a handle on the problem. But now the issue is, are the Democrats ever going to play ball? And if they don't, what's going to happen? This is going to get argued out in the courts, and we're going to have to see what happens over the coming months. If these sanctuary cities are, if you just watched Mayor Wu, how detached from reality can you be? She's literally virtue signaling while her own taxpayers are paying money to put up these illegal migrants, and she doesn't even have a concrete number for how much that costs. This is complete insanity, and it's not sustainable. So I imagine that we're going to see a lot more talk on immigration, and I'm thankful that we have guys like Byron Donalds out there in Congress actually asking the tough questions and saying, hey, put a number on this. How much did this cost? Mayor Adams, almost $7 billion on this problem. we live in crazy town, but at least we have some semblance of a reckoning coming. So thanks for tuning in, folks. I appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.